Hi guys, welcome to this video. This is Marlon here. In this video today, I'm going to show you a project that I've put together in Ableton Live, which is a remake of Never Forget You by Zara Larsson and MNEK. This is the instrumental that I've remade. This track came out about 2 years ago. I've recently heard it on the radio and I really like the track, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna have a go at making this, of remaking this. And this is the result. I'm gonna play that back for you, and then we'll talk about some of the things that I've got going on inside this track. Okay, so what I'm going to do is now talk you through what's going on inside this track. The first thing I've got here is a drum rack with the typical drum kit that I use for most of my productions at present. So it's a normal Ableton drum rack with several different sounds inside it, and I've just gone ahead and pretty much used the sounds that I needed. I've got everything played inside one inside one MIDI clip here. So we've got all the various sounds played through, and in order to mix them, I used the Ableton rack itself to sort of add any sort of effects that I wanted on some of the sounds. However, I did route some via an audio track or several audio tracks here. For example, the kick, the clap, and the hats have come through these individual channels, and I've got like EQ, some compression, as well as different plugins to shape the sound. So here I've got on the hats of just some EQs to boost some of the higher parts of it, as well as I've got a compressor that kind of brings things together to make it sound a bit more uniformed. So that's it for the drums. Next thing I've got some claps here. Actually, I've got some snare hits here, which is towards the breakdown part of the track, which are basically playing a built-up kind of pattern. And below that, I have some claps, and these claps are basically following the snare. On that channel, I've got some EQ, as well as a separate reverb adjusted to widen the clap sound as well. One thing that I've done with the clap towards the section here where the breakdown is, or the bridge rather, I kind of staggered the various claps. For the claps, I've just got a sampler device, or a simpler device here, with one clap, and then everything can be pitched depending on what notes you press. By the way, guys, I'm not going to go into too much details here because the project file will be made available as an Ableton pack, so please check the link in the description. This is done in Ableton Live 9 Suite. So you'll be able to use all the sounds that I've got here, all the instruments that I've created for this track. You'll be able to get a hold of those and use them in your productions, or just learn from the project here that I've put together. So pretty much that's that for the claps. I have different MIDI clips here that plays different parts of the clap and different patterns to the clap depending on what part of the song it is. So moving on, we've got the percussion section here, as well as some audio effects. And what I've got inside here are a couple of sounds that I refer to as knock sounds. These kind of give you the rhythm of drives the rhythm of the track. So I'll play this one here so you can actually hear what it sounds like. And then this one as well. So I've got processing going on here as well. The EQ, I've got this plug in the chorus. I actually haven't used it in some cases. So we've got those sounds there. We've got a shaker. So those are the percussive sounds. If we have a look down on these tracks here, we've actually got, oops, I just accidentally clicked on my automation here. So we've got some audio going on, and these are effects. This one is a reversed cymbal, and what I've done is I've cut the tail end of it, which is now the lead end. So I've cut the end of it and actually duplicated it to kind of elongate the sound before it drops on the main part of the cymbal. And it also gives it kind of a sidechained effect, along with the auto filter that I've added to it to give it kind of like a rising effect as well. So this is what this sounds like as a result. And below that, I've got a reversed phrase, so that kind of puts the icing on the cake just before that drop comes in. I've got that repeated across several parts, but I do have another white noise sound here as well that kind of adds some more to the build up. So all of those combine to give the track that kind of emotional feel and keeps you on a journey. Obviously you can see I've got some automation going on here. This is mostly auto filter stuff to control how much of the frequencies are coming through, to kind of keep things going movement wise and not just having a static single level sound going through, which can become very boring very quickly. So moving on, we've got this section here, this group called, I call it hook melody, and that's because it's playing the main melody in the song. Now that's the groove that you get. Okay, so this is a stack of 3 different instruments actually. So we've got, or 3 instances of an instrument. So we've got the first one here is basically an organ sound, which is done in Operator, Ableton's Operator synth. Then we've got these 2 tracks here, which are frozen at the moment. These are from the grand piano, a grand piano that I actually used, which is a sampler device. Now, the file size is extremely large for the sample that was used inside this grand piano, so I have not included the actual instrument in here because it would be too large for one to upload, and freezing the tracks as well does save on CPU. However, what I've actually done is I've made a copy of the MIDI clips that are the exact same clips that same notes that I've played when I recorded this, and the frozen version of the track gives you the audio as if it was recorded into audio rather than playing back the MIDI. Of course, you can replace this with another instrument or another grand piano from another plugin that you like. However, like I said, for practical reasons, I haven't included this, but the MIDI files are there. So over here, I've got a build-up sound. So this is using the plugin called Tension in Ableton here, and that gives you sort of that build-up pulse at the start of the track. And I've got some automation as well with the auto filter on that one. So that's what that sounds like. The exact same piano sound is playing down here. However, it's just got different chords, a different chord progression. So the same instruments that I had up top for the main melody. Again, I froze this track and I've created the MIDI down here. I've made a copy of them so you can have access to those notes. Next thing I want to look at is the violins. So we've got a violin, a cinematic kind of build up right here. And what I've used in this case is I grabbed a violin sample and I isolated a single note that was quite consistent and long enough, and placed it inside the simpler device here in Ableton, and basically tuned it to the right pitch, and then I went ahead and played in these notes here. So I wanted something with a bit more texture, or a slightly different texture, I should say, to play the other part of the violins. So I don't actually have some good violin sounds inside Ableton. So what I've done is I've resampled a violin sound from another plugin, which is outside of Ableton, a third-party plugin essentially. And I did the same thing. I created an instrument here and tuned it and basically played the other parts of this violin or strings section, and this is the result. Right, so that's the build up there, and then it goes into, I use the second violin instrument to kind of layer the hook melody here. And this section here, you know, it has a lot more going on. It has like the claps going at double time to give you kind of that energetic feel. I've got the snares again hitting in this bit here. And it's just a matter of layering things up and kind of changing the whole the rhythm of the instruments. I'm using the exact same instruments most of the times, but I've just changed up. Well, that's what they did in the original production, and this is the sort of thing that you can do to kind of change the whole dynamics of your track. So in the bass group here, I've got 3 tracks. Basically, the top track here is playing kind of a harmonic top end of the bass. Then I've got a saw bass here, which is giving you more of a gritty vibe, and then the sub bass. So when they're all combined, you get that sound that is close to the original track. So I'll play them individually actually and bring them in each one by one. Right, so that's what that sounds like here. The sub bass, I've got some processing going on here where I've got a compressor side chained to the kick, and that essentially frees up the space for the kick to come in, and it gives you that groove as well. It keeps the bass grooving. So I'll play it with the drums as well. I believe I did the same thing to the saw bass. Yep, got the compressor over here. So that's it. It's pretty straightforward. The only other things I've got are some stomp sounds here towards the end. That gives you kind of like a cinematic, adds to the cinematic effect. So this adds to the cinematic effect from those strings building up and so on. So I think I've got to unsolo that so you can actually hear what they sound like in context. And we've just got a drop right there with an effect in front of it, a little wobble kind of funny effect there. That was created inside another instrument inside Ableton, and I just sampled the audio. For little things like this, you don't need to have the whole instrument set up and just playing that one sound. So what I did is just created an audio file from it, resampled it, and just left that little audio clip there. So pretty much that's the overview of the whole track. I tried to create the track as close as possible to what the original was. I think it came out pretty okay. Obviously you won't be able to necessarily get the same sounds that the original tracks if you're trying to do remakes. You won't necessarily be able to know what samples they used or what instruments they're using, but you can use your ears and kind of try and come up with the same sound from whatever you've got. So once again guys, you can go ahead and grab this project file, check the link in the description, and you can use the sounds and learn from the actual track here that I've put together. That's it for now. There's more to come. Keep watching my videos and hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Peace.